Sevnica, Slovenia. It's a short book, just 42 pages and some filled with photographs. But it goes a long way in explaining the facts about the strong, proud people who carved a small but free nation out of the former communist Yugoslavia and produced one of the most famous women in the world, Melania Trump. Author Sandy Grice doesn't consider himself a writer, although he admits he is fond of dreaming up fairy tales to share with children. "I'm a storyteller," says Grice, who makes a living as a mechanical engineer in a town just a few miles away from Melania's hometown of Sevnica. But since Donald J. Trump decided to run for president, and then won, elevating his Slovenian wife to First Lady, Grice had a now or never moment. The result, Melania Trump, the Slovenian side of the story, a quick read full of historic facts, insightful observations, and revealing truths about a patriotic people who are tough survivors of communism and enthusiastic entrepreneurs in their now free homeland. This is reflected in a well-known Slovenian saying that states that a wife supports three corners of the house, which refers to how women influence men in a more profound manner than we can imagine. It is not too arrogant to say that the future of the USA and its population will be partly tailored by the patterns and principles leaned from the people of a small, proud nation situated on the sunny side of the Alps. Grice does, however, look back and explain that while communists frowned upon individuality, the government inadvertently raised up a generation of real men. A generation of real men emerged, Grice wrote. Men capable of building houses and towns with their bare hands and with the help of relatives and neighbors. Grice wrote that capitalism and no military draft has gifted us with a litter of gin and tonic hipsters as their replacement. In fact, Slovenians are living a kind of American dream as a result, with a house and a garden the common goal for everyone that has largely been achieved. A legacy of that system can be seen today in the high rate of privately owned property, which surpasses almost every Western country, Grice wrote, citing, in fact, that Slovenia has the highest percentage of single-unit home ownership in the European Union. He also wrote about the legacy of a generation raised with discipline and the lack thereof in the new generation. Back then, corporal punishment for misbehaving was well known and many children, including yours truly, would get a slap around the head for causing problems at school, and, which is even more important, another one at home if you tried to explain away the reason. Authority was something to respect, Grice wrote, blaming an easy money mentality of those who misunderstand capitalism. Nowadays, kids learn the word lawyer before they learn basic duties and responsibilities. Grice is old enough to remember when Slovenians had to smuggle basic goods like oranges and coffee into their country and, in his case, Legos, which he said made him the most popular kid in his neighborhood. In Chapter 3, entitled, "The Apple Doesn't Fall Far from the Tree," Grice wrote about the courage imparted to Melania by her mother. Putting your child on the catwalk at the age of 5 in order to increase her interest in fashion and to go against the popular opinion that the only proper color was gray was and still is courageous. The same goes for her father, who, rising from company driver and member of the party, established a business importing and exporting car parts, Grice wrote. The author also praises Melania for stating that one of her missions as First Lady will be preventing online bullying, and standing up to media bias at the same time. Knowing that most of the national television networks in Slovenia, excluded state-owned ones, are part of giant networks mostly owned by the USA, I would say that our journalists covered the elections based on the bias of their owners and in combination with our believed, shared online animosity, and that is certainly damaging to our young ones. Grice goes on to say, I am not a politically oriented person and most of my knowledge in this field has been gained in order to write this book, but I do admire Melanie for being a Slovenian with guts. She worked as a model most of her life and is certainly accustomed to her share of low punches, Grice wrote. The fact that she withstood all of the attacks as regard being labeled as a gold digger and not being a clever immigrant due to her lack of knowledge of the language is something to praise. The author also praises Melania for her speech at the 2016 Republican National Convention, where Grysk believes she helped her husband on his road to victory and contradicted the based media claims against her husband and presidential candidate Donald Trump. In the book's final chapter, entitled, "The Show Must Go On, Slovenian Style," Grysk wrote that the largest Christmas tree in Slovenia's capital Ljubljana is now called Melania, but it is a place thousands of miles away where her impact may be much greater. Melania, as the First Lady, will be successful, as she has proven many times, Grysk wrote. She knows how to stay focused no matter what the naysayers say. Throughout the writing of the book, a few lines from her husband echoed in my head, and I would like to quote one since that is the reason why I, not a professional writer, was able to finish the book. "Do what you like, stay focused and ride the momentum," Trump said. Meanwhile, Grysk is staying focused on selling his book, including to Americans when he visits the United States in the coming months.